Where are the lost tribes of Israel? Hi, this is Dr. Michael Bogart of Aspect Ministries. I've been making a series of videos about what happened to the 10 northern tribes of Israel after their deportation by the Assyrians in the 700s BC. In this series, we've looked at all sorts of possible connections from China to the British Isles. In this video, I want to look at a couple more groups that claim descent from these lost tribes. One group that I want to mention right off the bat are the Black Israelites, active now in the United States and in Israel. The Black Israelites base their claim to Israelite ancestry not on DNA or historical documents, but on visions by several African American and West Indian leaders in the late 1800s. These leaders claimed that God revealed to them that Africans were the true Israelites and that modern Jews were either imposters or were hiding their kinship to Africans. Several independent or loosely connected groups fit into this category. There are groups of Black Israelites in many North American cities, as well as a settlement in Dimona, Israel. Now, I could find no links of any ancient Israelites with this modern movement, but I will say that on one of my trips to Africa, during the flight, I sat beside a young man from Nigeria. In our conversation, he shared that many in his tribe, the Igbos of eastern Nigeria, believe that they are descendants of Israelites. Again, no studies that I've found confirm this claim. But there actually may be an African link. The only semi-scientific study I came across concerning an African link to Israel, besides the Falasha I talked about in the fourth video of this series, was the one done on the Lemba tribal group of South Africa and Zimbabwe. The Lemba claim to be descended from the tribe of Levi, and specifically from the Kohanim, the priestly descendants of Aaron within that tribe. And DNA testing has confirmed a significant similarity of the Lemba people to Kohen DNA from among modern Jews. Could this be a genuine link? We know that in the 10th century BC, King Solomon sent ships down the Red Sea and into the Indian Ocean to the land of Ophir to bring back exotic goods. And it's possible that Ophir was located in southern Africa, and if so, that among the Jewish sailors and merchants on the expedition there could have been Kohen priests who somehow settled there and intermarried. It's a long shot, but still a possibility. The tradition of the Lemba themselves is that their people originated among Jews who had settled in the city of Senna in Yemen and then later traveled to Africa to seek gold. Again, it's something to think about. Finally, let's look at yet another fascinating possibility, the Palestinian connection. We learned earlier that not everyone from the northern tribes got deported. According to 2 Chronicles 34, during King Josiah's time, there were people in the former Israelite territories who remained totally Israelite and had an interest in helping fund the remodeling of the temple in Jerusalem. Well, what happened to them? Well, who knows for sure? But with all the migrations, invasions, and displacements of people since that time, such as the expelling of the Jews by the Romans after the time of Jesus, the influx of Arabs, especially during the Muslim conquests of the 7th century AD, and the domination by the Turks in the centuries after that, that some of these Israelites may have gotten absorbed by other people. Some may have just merged with the Judeans in ancient times and then were expelled by Rome in the 1st and 2nd centuries along with the rest of the Jews. Today, they would simply be mixed in genetically with Jewish people. Others may have converted to Christianity after the time of Jesus and remained in the land, Jewish in background, but now classified as Christians. Others of these remaining Israelites may have been assimilated by invading Arabs and Turks, and today we would call both of these last two groups Palestinians, either Muslim Palestinian or Christian Palestinian. In one of my trips to Israel during our visit to Bethlehem, our guide was a young Christian Palestinian. While he and I were chatting on the bus, we got to talking about who the Palestinians are. He said something that fitted in very well with some research that I've since come across. That there are close similarities between the DNA of some Palestinians and the DNA of some Jews. In fact, he told me of a study done on some radical Muslim Palestinians in Hebron, people who hate Israel and Israelis, and ironically, their genetics were virtually identical to Jewish DNA. So among Palestinians, there probably is some kind of link to the lost Israelites. Okay, we've looked at possible ties of quite a number of modern people groups to ancient Israelites. What can we make of all this? Well, several things come to mind. First, the lost tribes of Israel are not really lost. Their current identities may be unknown to the world and maybe even unrecognized by themselves, but they're not unknown to God. If God says that he will set apart thousands from each of the tribes of Israel in the end times, see Revelation 7, then somehow he will make them aware of who they are and they will serve the purpose for which he has preserved them. Ezekiel chapter 37 verses 11 through 13 says this, "Then he, God, said to me, Son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say our bones are dried up and our hope is gone. We are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. My people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. Then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord when I open your graves and bring you up from them." Second, when God promised Abraham in Genesis 17:4 that he would be the father of many nations, he wasn't kidding. It's difficult to prove any of the connections I've talked about in this video series. However, I do believe that it's safe to say that Israelite blood probably runs through the veins of many different groups of people today, people who may not even be aware of it. For example, generations ago, my maternal grandmother's family, the Folks, emigrated from northern Wales to the Pennsylvania colony in 1698. They were descended from a family of minor Welsh nobility. But there's a British legend that after the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus and the oppression of the Jewish followers of Jesus in Judea, some of them fled as far away from the trouble as was possible in those times, southern Britain. Among them was Joseph of Arimathea, the man who provided the tomb for Jesus' burial. A similar legend has it that a teenage Jesus may have even made the trip to southern Britain in the company of a relative during that gap in the New Testament account of his life between the age of 12 and 30. And this is actually the theme of a beautiful traditional English hymn called Jerusalem. I know that all that sounds way out there, but maybe it's not as crazy as it sounds at first. The fact is that for centuries there was regular trade between the Eastern Mediterranean and southern Britain. Why? Tin. Tin is a commodity found there in abundance, and Jewish merchants would almost certainly have been involved in that trade. So it was indeed a possible destination, especially if you wanted to get completely out of the Mediterranean region. The traditions of many noble British families, including the Welsh, claim descent from these Jewish refugees, Jewish followers of Jesus, specifically from Joseph of Arimathea. And third, I believe that at least some elements of these tribes can be found. Yes, I know the accepted official position of academics and even some religious people is that searching for Israel's northern tribes is pointless because they're lost beyond all hope. But as someone with an academic degree myself, I am fully aware that academics can be wrong, sometimes stubbornly wrong. With all the tools we have available in our interconnected world, it will be interesting to see how the search goes in the years to come. The Bible has a very satisfying way of proving itself despite all of its critics and skeptics. This is Dr. Michael Bogart with Aspect Ministries. Keep trusting.